This is Dennise Ray Whitmore, and we are going to start an interview about her father, Richard Valentine Schneider, who is also my grandfather. What do you know about Richard Schneider's childhood?
Oh, I know quite a bit. He was the baby of 11 kids. Um, there was one more born after him, but it was stillborn. Um, his childhood was quick and varied. His parents, he was mostly raised by his brother, um, Bernard Schneider, who we call Barney, and actually out of all of the Schneiders, out of all of his siblings that are older than my father, my Uncle Barney is the only remaining Schneider left. My dad passed away in 2001, and Uncle Barney is still alive and doing well in Beatty, Kansas. Dad's childhood consisted of being an altar boy. The church was right across the street. Father Nelligan, who taught my dad, who taught me, who blessed all of us, baptized all of us. My dad, all of his brothers and sisters, myself. Other than that, I mean, like I said, fishing, hunting, driving fast cars. My dad liked to race. The Schneider family had a band. Each one of them had an instrument that they played or they sang. My dad played the guitar. My dad was also an excellent singer. I can't tell you exactly what kind of music it was back then. I don't know. My dad was born in 1939. I don't know exactly what kind of music that they sang, but I do know that they had a band. The whole family participated. With Dad being the youngest, it was sad to me, but his mother didn't pay that much attention to him. As the kids went along, it was it was the next ones up that took care of the ones. I know they worried about gypsies, believe it or not, back then, taking the younger kids, pushing them away to the gypsies. I always heard about the gypsies. That was what my dad did for his childhood that he talked to me about.
Did he ever join any military service?
Yes. He joined the Navy. He falsified his papers. Uncle Barney signed him off. He was 16 when he went in. They signed him as being 18. My father had only an 8th grade education. But, like I said, being the baby of the big family, and at that time there was not any work around, and he was ready to be on his own, and this was the way to go. And my uncle, Dad did not want to be into farming, and that was what the rest of the family was into, was farming, and my dad didn't want to be a farmer. So his brother signed papers and got him into the service. I remember the last weekend before they went in. Of course, the altar boys always stole the sacramental wine. Don't tell anybody. Which they did before my dad went off to sea. And he went in. He went into the service. He stayed there until he was 21, at which he received an honorable discharge, and met my mother in Providence, Rhode Island, where they were married, and made their trip back to Omaha, Nebraska.
Did he have any nicknames?
Yes, Tricky Dick.
Why was he named Tricky Dick?
I don't know exactly. I just remember hearing that name. He was always called Tricky Dick.
What did he do for a living after the Navy?
First, after the Navy, they didn't know for sure what they were going to do. They had his Navy pay set up, they had a car, and they were just staying in this little temporary housing that they had. So my dad and mom took out a map, and he told my mother, close your eyes and point, and that's where we're going to go settle. And that's what they did. And where they pointed was Omaha, Nebraska. And so they had, at that time, I believe it was a Galaxy 500 Ford. And they packed up and got into their Galaxy 500 and headed to Omaha, and that's where they planted. At that time, my dad's first job was in a bakery. After that, the first advice my dad gave me on jobs was, of course he had no experience as a baker, but he found out real quick he couldn't get a job by telling people he did not have any experience. And just coming out of the Navy, they, what do you have for experience? And he was still young, although he was 21 when he got out. He told his baker that he had experience, however, he would like to see how the gentleman did it at his shop so that he could do it his way. And I've never forgotten that advice, that if you go into a job and tell the owner that if you want to succeed, show me how you'd like to see it done, and follow his advice. Dad got the job, and they lived pretty good on that until Dad went on to be a meat cutter, which he did for 33 years, and was very successful at that.
What kind of a father was he?
My childhood was the best childhood any kid could ask for. I was the first child born. For the first, with them being up in Omaha, it was a city. I was put with my grandparents. They lived on a farm in Oquito, Kansas. It was perfect. I loved it. My grandparents loved me unconditionally. They were German. They spoke German. Farm life, of course, was hard working. Farm work is like farm work. You get up at the crack of dawn and you go to sleep when it's dark. I loved it, and I love my grandparents, and I wouldn't have traded my childhood for anything in the world. My dad, some of my best memories were going fishing. My childhood was great. My childhood was good. Until we moved to Maine.
Do you know what kind of a husband he was towards your mother?
What kind of a husband he was to my mother? I remember sneaking into the car, and in the glove box, I found long love letters, because I was a snoop. And I found long love letters that he wrote to my mother. And this was after all three of us girls were born. And so they had to have been married for some time. They were still writing romantic love letters to one another. He was still, at that time, he had worked for a Safeway and was a meat cutter there, and he was getting into contests, and I remember him winning a TV. I was out in the yard playing, and he comes and grabs my mother and picks her up and takes her into the house and says, come see what surprise just grabs her up and swirls her around in the yard and things like that. And this was, within to the first decade of their marriage. That's the kind of marriage they had. I remember, them chasing each other around the kitchen table. It was in good fun. My parents loved each other first. Then they loved then they loved their children. They had a good marriage.
What is your favorite memory of him?
With me or him?
What is your favorite memory of him?
Being a mayor in that little town. We lived in Oquito, Kansas. My mom and dad owned a grocery store. My dad had a successful meat market. And at that time, Oquito, Kansas Oquito was from the Oto Indians that had settled it. My dad became the mayor, and he changed it to become he made it kid friendly. He made it family friendly. He made it like Joe Vega had made this town of Port Isabel. He made it so that we had he brought all the holidays back. We had square dancing contests, and we had homemade we had ice cream night. We'd make homemade ice cream, and so we'd have the ice cream nights. That's what I remember best on my dad. We'd have old-fashioned the old movies, the black and white movies before sound, where you follow the bouncing ball. And those were the nights after we made the ice cream. We'd watch those old movies. It was fantastic. Those were the best nights I remember of my dad. And he orchestrated that whole thing. And that's when he was mayor.
What were some of his favorite things to do?
Dad had a lot of favorite things to do. Dad had so much. He has so much energy. Camping, I think, had to be his number one favorite, or his number one favorite outlet, because he was so busy. I think that became his favorite. He didn't have a lot of money, so his first camper was the one he made. He made it out of plywood on the back of a pickup, on the back of a Dodge pickup. And our first trip was to Manitoba, Winnipeg. We drove that thing in the wintertime up there when all of us kids were little, and it was the best trip I remember. And then after that, we went every weekend. He had the store open until Saturday nights, and we took it then so we could go fishing at a lake. I think that was it.
Did he have any favorite food?
Oh, yes, those white navy beans with gravy on bread. Oh, horrible. But that was his favorite food. I think he liked it just because nobody else did, and he knew he'd get to eat it all. That and split pea soup.
In 3 words, how would you describe him?
Honest, unconditional, and lost.
Okay. Why would you say these?
Honest is self-explanatory. Unconditional, because everything that he did, he had no strings attached. And lost, because after he sold the store and we moved to Maine, everything pretty much changed. And they started drinking, and I think he got lost.
Richard Valentine Schneider passed away on June 8th, 2001. Did he give you any advice before then?
Well, when I was 16, took out my first car loan, and I was so worried, with Ford Granada. He told me that not to worry, that I will have debt from that day until the day I die.
What were some of your favorite sayings from him? I can't say. Can I say this? When he farted, he said, "Oop, there's a ducks. There's a ducks. Hear it, girls? There's a ducks." That was his favorite saying. So we're supposed to fart at the dinner table, and whenever he did, "Whoops, girls, look, there's a ducks. There's a ducks." We always looked. Is there anything else you would like to add to this interview?
My father to me was bigger than life. I was very, very fortunate to have been the oldest. He taught me how to live. I was lucky. He taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to drive. And he taught me how to love. I'm thankful for that. He got to see Mareke before he died. I know she doesn't remember him, but he did get to see her. He was only 62 when he died, but he was ready to die. He said that. He told that to my sister. He was disillusioned. He went through, like, I don't know. He was a disillusioned and a little bit lost towards the end. He was looking for something that he never quite found. And it makes me sad.
If you were alive right now for one last chance for you to talk to him, what would you say to him?
Please don't drink.
Thank you for your time.
I love you.
Have a good day.
You too.